What's up, troopers? We're here with another episode of Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Evan. That's Mike over there. Mike, what's going on with you?
I just finished watching England versus Argentina.
Oh, look at you. Look at how cultured you are. How did it go?
I know. Honestly, the only reason I was watching it was because the guys had it on in the conference room at work.
Okay, well, you still watched it.
Yeah. There was a lot of screaming involved.
Were you watching the end? Because that's where
I
magic
actually
happened.
stayed about 10 minutes late because everybody was screaming.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying the World Cup festivities.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted to a little bit bring that up is because somebody in the comments of our YouTube video last week asked the question, do I think the WTC for Legion should not be typed by nationality?
Oh, very interesting.
I'd say I would love to be on a team with some of those Polish guys or German guys. And that would be so much fun.
Sure.
I would love that. So
all you gotta do is actually come to Europe.
I mean,
you can make it happen.
No doubt. But I think I'm still on that level. I would love to be on an international team that is
well, the thing about that is, this is a poorly kept secret of the World Team Championships, and shout out to Dave and Andy AGST, as well as his lovely wife Miss Fortuna, Louisa, because all of them do a fantastic job adminning / running this every year. But a secret to that is that they play sort of loose with the nationality rules.
Oh.
I gave the example when I was talking about WTC about how I believe it was on one of the Danish teams, but there was only a single Italian player who was there, and he wanted to play, and so they found room for him by him slotting into a not quite filled team from another country. And there's another team, specifically Wales, where I think since the beginning that half of the team has literally at least been one Spanish guy and one South African guy.
Okay.
And so, for the most part, the countries are fully representative in terms of people from that country at WTC. But your dream could come true, Mike. If you really, if you hate America that much, then you could, get all your, what were you holding up there?
It was a cherry Coke. I've defected from Baja Blast today. So
Okay.
Defection is the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Baja Blast, despite being named after a region of Mexico, is the most American drink that there is, and so defecting from that is a rejection of America. But yeah, if you want to truly abandon us as a country, then you could totally just get on the WTC Discord for next year and just go hey, consider me a mercenary. I will work for whoever as long as it's not America, and people will snatch you up.
And
maybe
I will.
I promise not to be upset about it. This last year, this last one, we had a great time. Brian wasn't there. It was just great. And so, as long as Brian's not at the next one either, it'll be fun. I promise.
I'm sure. Brian just brings everything down. Oh man.
Yeah. I did also want to actually briefly update that we got a message from Justin Fleming, the world champ, about his list, because we talked a little bit. Maybe we can catch up this week by talking about the whole saboteur thing. We'll see if any of the lists that we go over at the end feature that. I don't think that they do, but he was Justin Fleming He said, first of all, the Brian slander is always hilarious. Thank you, Justin, for noticing, but it is not a joke to us. It's
yeah.
deadly serious. But he did also share that the bikes are very flexible. That he does the thing that people in the know with speeder bikes have done from the beginning, ever since the old Blizzard Force days. What is that? You hide them. You aggressively hide them on round one.
You keep them alive?
You keep them alive.
Don't say.
And then round two is when they're either going to dive on objectives or dive in there to shoot at. The rule with bikes is that if you're going to shoot at somebody, then make sure that it's somebody who's not going to shoot back at you, basically ever.
Yeah.
Is the rule of cool of keeping those alive.
Tougher to do these days.
It is harder to do for sure. But he actually also shouted out that he part of the reason why he took the bikes was that they added significant amount of extra impact, which he considered to be important specifically because of the Ohnaka gang list, which is something that we are going to be talking about a little bit later. So yeah, that was just an update from Justin. Thank you for messaging us. But yeah, Mike, hey, good for you for watching World Cup, broadening your horizons. Also want to give a shout out to our fans in England. I'm sorry that it's not coming home once again, and that it also had to be against Argentina.
I'm not sorry.
So for anybody familiar with the whole Maradona situation, the hand of God, so to speak, was one of the most memorable times that England's World Cup hopes have been ripped away. That it just the short version, Mike, is that it is pouring salt in a wound for this to have happened from Argentina.
I see.
It is a rough one for them.
I take it this is not the first time that this has happened.
No, it's not. It's not. The other time was more traumatic because it basically had to do with the fact that the refs did not call a handball that had clearly happened. And that's why England is really raw about that one. But no, Mike, when you see the video, it is the worst kind of handball. The kind that punches it into the goal like when the goalie would have otherwise caught it.
I don't know. I feel like all sports talk devolves into just pile driving the refs to a level in which they're so unplayable they would gain Obi-Wan Kenobi status.
To be fair, if they had this video assisted replay that they have now, then that goal would have been taken away for sure. The famous one, the hand of God. But yeah,
as a Patriots fan, whatever. I don't.
Okay,
listen,
I know you don't care about the rules.
It gets called as it is, and we all have to live with it.
Yeah. So what? You spy on your opponents. You underinflate a few
So what? The
footballs.
balls
What's the
are
big
a little
deal?
bit lacking on the air. It's not a big deal.
Well, I was at work during that game and I did not get to see it, but I did want to actually shout out something that's going on with me, which is that this is the first time that I've read a book or watched a TV show or played a video game that has nothing to do with Legion, where I truly feel like it's up to me to be a missionary for the damn thing, and tell people about it. And I'm curious, whether you've already read these or you've probably heard about it. But Mike, Dungeon Crawling Carl, have you read these books or listened to the audiobooks? Either one.
I'm not a huge. To say that I'm not a huge reader isn't maybe fair. I'm reading Wheel of Time right now.
Well, then you're a huge reader of one series at least, then, because
I'm book 8.
if you asked me with a gun to my head about which has more books in it, Wheel of Time or the New Testament of the Holy Bible, I would literally be like, I'm not sure. Just fire the gun. I don't know.
I think Wheel of Time is 15 or something, and they're all pretty long.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
I have not read Dungeon Crawler Kyle.
Okay, so the reason why you would like this is because it is when my brother described it to me, he described it as a literary RPG. And to which I was like, what does that even mean, Gregory? But once you get into it, what it is that it is they just came out with the eighth book. And that is basically like an epic story about about real people on planet Earth that get sucked into a video game slash tabletop RPG situation, but where they are the board pieces and the danger to themselves is truly mortal. In terms of like them being in the dungeon.
Yeah.
But it's like that combined with the fact that that they're given stats that like sort of like alter the way that their muscles work or how smart they are, and that they can learn spells and get classes and et cetera, et cetera. But it's like really funny. The plot is actually like very well constructed. And the best part about it is that it avoids the Ready Player One problem, which I don't know. Did you read that or watch the movie at all, Mike?
I haven't done either of those things, unfortunately.
So the Ready Player One was like a kind of similar situation, but the problem with Ready Player One is that book and the movie was just like a series of references to like real things in pop culture, and it wasn't actually all that clever.
All the commercials I saw for the movie, I'm like, oh, that's like got a bunch of my favorite things in it, but I'm not really sure how I feel about them all being in the same place. That's not really interesting to me.
Exactly. And so with Dungeon Crawl Carl, it certainly gets inspiration from a whole lot of things, but and that a lot of the creatures in it are, like an orc or a gargoyle, but the way that they put a spin on these things is like really creative. It's very funny, and that the whole thing ends up ballooning into this like massive, like galaxy spanning plot that you never would have expected when you open up the first book.
Okay.
And so, and to add to it is that if you prefer audiobooks, like if you have an Audible subscription or whatever, we're not sponsored by Audible. We are sponsored by Game Toppers and Legion Train. We could be. That's right. This is like a free shout out to them. But the audiobook is very good. The voice actor who does it is maybe the most impressed I've been about one guy doing like 50 different recognizable voices where, he is so good at vocal range that he's able to tell dozens of characters apart just by like the inflection that he uses. And,
I
like,
have
the accent
a
that he
lot
uses.
of respect for people
Yeah.
that like voice actors in general. I think that is like so hard.
It's really hard to do.
Like as someone who has dabbled in audio media, like just keeping your tone the same is difficult.
Mhm.
And even just being yourself sometimes, like accents bleed through, and
yes. Anybody who's ever run a D&D campaign and tried to do the voices when you're the dungeon master, like
it's so hard.
Even if you're decent at it, it devolves like eventually.
You're like, oh man, I've been doing this for an hour. I can't keep this up, and yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, my friends make fun of me sometimes. They'd be like, your German bartender suddenly became very Australian. I'm just like, shut up, man. It's not that hard. But
why are all your bad guys Arnold Schwarzenegger?
But like, it's really clever, and it really demonstrates that the author, his name is Matt Dinneman, that he's like a real one in terms of having played all these games and really enjoyed them, because there's a lot of stuff along the lines of figuring out an exploit, right? It's like, if you're familiar, are you familiar with the concept of barrelmancy, for instance?
No.
It's basically it's a joke that I think came from Baldur's Gate, but okay, whatever. Like, Mike is too real. I'm talking about like Baldur's Gate 2, like the old Baldur's Gate. Okay. But basically the idea that if you have a way to, like, if you have a bag of holding and you have a way to basically cram 80 explosive barrels into a single bag of holding, and then if you run into this like city-sized boss that you could just turn on fly spell, and then dump the bag of holding on top of the city-sized boss in order to kill it with a bunch of explosive barrels. Like people do this in video games all the time, and they will. And if you ever DM in D&D, then your players will often try to do this, and it's up to you about whether you actually let them or not. But yeah, Mike, nope. I bet you do not let them.
I am renowned in the groups that I dungeon master for as being the hard ass.
I let them if it's funny. That's basically what I do.
In all of my settings, you only get hit points every other level. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
Yes.
Every other level.
Yeah. Every other level. If a stray arrow can't kill you, we're not playing in Mike's world.
And Mike, do you police encumbrance, and do you police like eating rations in your D&D games?
We generally don't police rations. We definitely police encumbrance.
Because that's super. Okay.
Just from it turns out that like most characters like technically should have like a horse or 10 horses with them with the size of my player inventories a lot of the time. And it's just like there's a reasonable level of wiggle room on that, and there's an unreasonable one, and the fact of the matter is you just always end up in the unreasonable one if you don't like at least sort of try to police it. You're like, yeah, I have 10 suits farmer on me, like I'll sell them eventually, I promise. Like
yeah. Or if you ever run into the player where it's like, I'm gonna pick up the corpses of all the goblins.
Yeah, it's like
take them with me.
Come on, we picked up 50 longswords from the last fight because of the mage cast fireball. We're gonna sell them once we get to town. It's like, okay, all right.
I will say in Dungeon Crawler Carl, it ends up being like important to the plot that all of the human players have an unlimited inventory, and that they're allowed to put it in inventory as long as they can physically pick up the object. And so it ends up being actually this like enormous plot point at various times. But anyway, I think that if you're the sort of person who plays Star Wars Legion, like, I'm just going to be honest, I bet that you would enjoy this book series. So I did want to just like sort of shout it out because I think it just like has really broad appeal. Okay. Anyway, this is not a soccer or literature podcast. This is a Star Wars Legion podcast. And we have news, Mike. We have actual news that we need to talk about.
I mean, we've had a lot of news lately, to be honest. I don't know why you're acting surprised, Evan. There's been a lot of stuff happening.
Okay, lately. But like we've had releases, but since Adepticon, I don't really think that we
had a points update. We had the Mando release. Okay,
but those are releases, Mike.
Those we didn't know about what was gonna be in them ahead of time. Some of them were disappointing. Some of them were exciting. It's. I think today's a bit of both.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's funny that like when you said the word disappointing, is that I just had this mental image of Samuel L. Jackson that just like popped into my head for some reason. Why did that happen?
Mother.
Okay, well, let's talk about the good news up front in terms of exciting versus maybe slightly less exciting. So we had a surprise pre-order show up.
Yeah.
On Asmodee.
Truly surprising.
Truly surprising because we literally know about multiple things that are going to be coming out after this. And
by multiple, you mean like probably at least a dozen, to be honest.
Yeah, like many multiple things that are coming out after this. And yet on September 11th, which is going to be the same day as the Leaders of the Separatist Pack, now we know that release date. That was also a little bit of news. And then also the Inquisitor re-release for Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister are both happening that same day. Is that there's going to be this completely brand new unit that we had no idea about, which is the B2 Super Rocket Battle Droids. Mike, I'm just going to read the description from Asmodee.
Sure.
Built for shock assault, Super Battle Droid rocket troopers combine heavy firepower with jet system mobility to overwhelm enemy lines. Whether blasting through entrenched positions or advancing under fire, they offer Separatist commanders a versatile and durable frontline unit. This expansion contains 7 finely detailed miniatures, enough for one heavy with capital H unit, along with unit and unit upgrade cards to support gameplay. And then it has a bunch of bullet points that say literally the same thing, which makes me sometimes wonder about the way these are written. But the content is, as I said, 7 minis, 1 unit card, 3 upgrade cards, and then
likely the heavy weapons.
Likely the heavy weapons. I'm looking at these minis, and well, first of all, Mike, what's your overall reaction to this?
My initial reaction was, maybe it's time to crank out the Separatists. Like, like, tough to say without seeing their rules. They look like really cool models.
Mm-hmm. They're sort of Dark Trooper-esque looking because a lot of smoke trails going on.
Yeah. I think I am cautiously optimistic, but I definitely have some reservations in the tank, I think.
I think that you and I had the same first gut reaction, which was that when we saw the rank, which is of heavy, we were both like, ooh, boy.
Separatists, yeah. I don't know if this is like to call this a problem, I'm not sure is fair. But all of the cool things that want to play in Separatists are kind of in the heavy rank, and you can only take 2.
Yeah.
And like, it's, it's like, I don't know. Also, Separatists really kind of have been wanting a 3rd Special Forces for like a long time.
Well, they got one. They got the Temu bike.
Long time. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess you're right about that.
They also don't yet have a trooper in the support slot aside from the sniper team. Whereas I think
that's not true.
Wait,
droidekas are troopers.
Crap, droidekas. Whoops. Listen. Okay, Mike.
I just,
yeah. All right. Like, yeah, we all know what kind of DM you are. It's okay.
Yes. We were checking encumbrance limits.
But you know what I mean? It's like, because Empire has range troopers and Republic has commandos and Rebels have the FD cannon and tauntauns. Whereas like it feels like, okay, Deca's aside, but that there's basically just a bunch of different vehicles in that slot.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like I feel like a support would have been cool from a army building standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's really hard to justify. This is something that I want to like get excited to purchase, I think. And I am sort of, but like this is kind of a piece that I would like to have like multiple units of in my army, perhaps more than 2.
Sure.
Like just from like a coolness factor, like I think it would be great if you could use these in EXD. I also think it would be crazy if you couldn't, just from like how the concept of the like jetpack B2 fits in with the theme of what EXD is doing. Like, I could see there being like a rules justification for not allowing that, but I think on a theme level, I would expect you to be able to take these in EXD.
I bet that because EXD allows B2s in the core slot, that it would at least fit thematically, since B2s are allowed in that army generally.
I just like, when you look at the model and you look at
they look kind of experimental.
They look like, if you were to ask me what an experimental droid looks like in the current range of miniatures, this is definitely it. Let's strap jetpacks and heavy weapons and like Space Marine missile launchers to the top of B2s. You're like, yeah, okay.
And that part is interesting because this must be a cartoon thing. Because like I just looked up to remind myself about what the rocket B2s looked like in Battlefront, and they literally look like B2s with a B2s that have been doing lat exercises.
Yes.
Like their back is like slightly larger.
Yeah.
But these gigantic like rocket pack things. That's from the cartoon, I guess.
And I think at least one of the models has like missile racks that look like they're, normally would be mounted to the side of an Apache helicopter.
I mean, that's pretty sick, honestly.
Yeah, like,
I'm sure that's one of the heaviest.
Looks super dope.
Yeah.
Right. I want an army full of them.
It actually looks like those are the two heavies. Is that one is the missile pack, and then the top left, I think, is a B2 Ha.
Yeah.
So those are probably the two things. And then
yeah. I think my main reservation outside of the whole heavy thing,
sure,
is that when was the last time you saw anybody play like a lot of B2s?
It is definitely Trent.
Trent is definitely the one person.
But so like,
I think he had like one or two in his list that I was playing against at Worlds.
But aside from the best player in Indiana, which is definitely Trent and not anybody else, like you don't really see a ton of success with them generally outside of like him.
I think generally they're pretty inefficient for what they are doing outside of the hands of like a very capable player.
Yes. B1s give you order control, GOs give you movement, B2s are just kind of beef, and so you miss out.
Yeah, and Trent's always doing the I'm just going to panic your stuff with suppression, keep my stuff alive thing, which is clearly very effective.
That's a way to win. Yeah,
and they're good in that respect. I just I'm cautious because I think B2s are overcosted, and I could see a world where B2s with super fancy weapons are even more overcosted. But I guess we'll see, because we are in the world of Haunton releases, so these guys can be like 6 points less per model than normal.
Yeah,
B2s
why not?
I mean, Haunton's like 30 points less than regular Han, right? Is it 30 or is it 20?
I think it's 20. Maybe I think it's 20. I think regular Han's 110, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's too much. So I guess what's your prediction from a gameplay standpoint? Like they could. I don't think that these are going to be unconcerned or unstoppable. Rather, I think that what they might have though
I
is
sure hope they're not.
Yeah, but something that gets you halfway there is if they have a free action jump. Do you think that they're going to have a free action jump?
No, I don't.
Do you think those be speed 3?
No,
because otherwise, like if not, then what is the point of this gigantic jump pack?
I think they'll have jump 2.
Oh man,
on a normal B2 chassis.
This jump pack is so huge.
Sure, maybe
I think
I would maybe agree with you had we not just had a release full of dudes with jetpacks that are like the premier jumping, flying, we fly now units that are all just jump 2.
What if they're I don't know, like them being speed 1 with the free action jump, then like that doesn't seem honestly very good, and it doesn't feel like it would be very evocative.
I think they're just gonna have regular jump, and I think they will have what's the HRE? Flexible response unit is what I think they'll have. Is a flexible response unit. I think they'll have multiple heavies. I think that's, to me, the only reason to put them in the heavy slot as like normal small base troopers is if you can take multiple heavy weapons in the unit.
Well, I mean, they don't even need flexible response. They can just have 2 heavy slots like the Dark Trooper does.
Sure, they could also do that for sure.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think you'll be able to take both in one unit because that's really the only thing that makes sense if it's going to be in the heavy slot, to me anyway.
Yeah, I think these could be a relatively cheap heavy, potentially.
Yeah, and which is already a slot taken up by Aquas, kind of.
Yeah.
They're less cheap than they were before.
Yeah,
it's good.
Weird area to work within,
Sure.
especially like I'm not sure how these are gonna fill a role that like Aquas don't or the tanks don't. To be honest, I think that's gonna be tough, right? Because the Aquas are already pretty up in your face. Infiltrate goes a
they've
long
infiltrate.
way
Yeah.
in any sort of deployment thing. If you want like firepower, you can just take a persuader.
Yeah.
You know, I just I mean, I guess in theory these could ride on a persuader.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we like what's funny is that we're going to find out pretty quickly because it's pretty unusual for us to literally be less than 2 months away from a release and find out about a product, right?
I actually want to talk about that for a second.
Sure.
I want this more.
Yeah, I agree totally. I'm not upset we didn't find out about this in Adepticon.
To be clear, I want less of knowing about things 4 years in advance and more and more it's coming out next month or a month and a half from now. I think I don't want to beat Mace in the head again, but we've had like a year to be disappointed with him. He's not even here yet. you know, like that. And I think it would feel like things like that would feel less bad.
Sure.
If that gap was just shortened. And I think that also goes with things would feel the emotion of like, oh man, I'm like super excited about that. You know, we see Spectre Squad at, you know, what was that, a year and a half ago?
Maybe Extravaganza a year ago, I think.
Like,
or when they showed like a picture or whatever.
Which is like, I don't know. It's like, it feels like it's 2 years later and they're like nowhere to be seen. Like, I know that they're eventually coming somewhere on the timeline, but I think I would have rather just seen them like 2 months before they were released.
Yeah,
and
I agree. I think so. I think this is a sign that AMG and Asmo have like gotten into a better rhythm. Like the Mandos themselves were also a sign of that, right? Like
100%.
They kept that under wraps until
nail that over and over and over again, because I think one of the issues when you don't do that is hype immediately picks up, and then over the next 6 months to a year and a half, it just basically drops to zero.
I think the biggest culprit was like Rebel Ahsoka, because you remember like first of all there were all the guard players that were like, wait,
like
she's getting her Rebel release first. And then, you know, once she finally came out, at least initially, she was really not very good, and that you know, that so it was just sort of like a bad cycle for her. But yeah, like this is just cool, and I'm totally with you that it would be cool to have more fun surprises like this.
I think I would just like to see this become the norm, I guess is what I'm trying to say, as opposed to like the atypical, you know.
And the most important reason being is that it's good for podcasters.
It's also good for us to talk about, like, you know, it's like, oh man, something dropped and we
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of things that dropped, terrain layout cards, Michael.
Yeah.
So this is something that goes back to the earliest conversations that we had. I think this might have been revealed before then, but the early conversations we had in this new era of sniper maxing, where the issue of like, is Yoda going to get sniped to hell came up. And something that the Wills told us, and I believe they brought it up on another podcast, was the fact that there was going to be this some terrain guidance that was going to come out for players. And we had spoken a little bit on our cast about that. I think the thing that both of us were afraid of, which is definitely not something that is happening. The thing we were both afraid of was the idea of 40K-ifying the Legion terrain situation, where I've heard the horror stories of every map feeling the same and the whole thing just being a big, boring spin cycle. And so I do want to get that up front, is that because of the fact that this is general guidance and that none of this is truly required for any sort of tournament system, we can maybe talk about that later, but we can say for sure that that is, like, Legion is not going to be forced into a corner when it comes to this terrain layout stuff. And so it's still going to be up to TOs. With that caveat said up front, because that is important to say.
It is very important to say, yes.
Mike, can you guide us through what this PDF has?
Yeah, so this PDF essentially is kind of broken up into two parts. It's honestly, it's not very long. It's very brief. There are the terrain layout cards, of which there are 6. You basically shuffle them at random or choose the ones that you want to use. They have green dots as to where the terrain pieces are supposed to go on the board. And you take 2 of the cards and you put them next to each other. And that's supposed to be your guidelines for how to set up the table.
Yeah. So as you can see, we're screen sharing is that you could flip them, you could interchange them, and that basically by using 2 cards, you get an entire map with these little dots on them.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It goes on to say that, like, terrain features should not be within half range of each other and should be as close to range 1 from other terrain features as possible. It talks about, like, half marks and full marks and, like, what you should do with them when, like, the half mark lines up on the terrain thing, and then the other part of this document shows some pictures of what I would describe as 4 very vague categorizations of terrain:
right here.
large, medium, and fill-in terrain. Not scatter, fill-in. And it's basically, I guess this is a suggestion on saying that this is roughly the amount of pieces you have on a given Legion table. I think there's not a ton of great scale here. Like the
Those
pictures
racks are not as big as the large terrain.
The pictures are not to scale to start with.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think it's really tough to tell how big that small terrain piece is actually supposed to be in contrast to the large terrain piece or the medium terrain piece or the fill-in terrain, right?
Yeah.
It also doesn't really describe whether things should be area or scatter or obstacle or whatever. It's really just, I think you basically could put your hand over these pictures and say you should have 2 large pieces of terrain, 6 medium pieces of terrain, and it would be kind of the same. So that's really all this document is saying. It is I think intentionally vague.
Yeah.
And intentionally very open to interpretation. I think we can talk about if that's a good or a bad thing, but I do think that is the intent of this document. Yeah.
And so when you put everything together, this would suggest that you should have a minimum of 32 individual pieces of terrain on a Legion map, anywhere between 32 and 40.
Of which half
of which would be fill-in terrain.
Yes.
Slash, most of us normies would call it scatter terrain.
Well, it's interesting because they describe fill-in terrain as scatter, area, or obstacle.
Oh.
which is a little confusing from my standpoint. And the example they give definitely looks like scatter terrain.
Scatter, yeah.
And most area terrain is generally sizable enough to what I would say fit the description of a medium terrain piece,
yeah, usually,
right? Or larger, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you think that most Legion maps have 32 pieces of terrain on them?
Yes. I at least
it's probably maybe that or a little bit less.
I would say I think the answer is definitely yes, at least on most of my local tables. What I will say is that I think the difference generally between a table that has 16 fill-in terrain pieces plus the other stuff and 0 fill-in terrain pieces and the other stuff is negligible. From how the game works and how they affect the game most of the time.
The function of that terrain is usually to provide light cover, which from a game, light cover on its own feels so minimally meaningful that it ends up often not mattering at all, because even though if everybody sort of arrayed their units geographically equally with each other, then it would be more meaningful. But here's the thing that happens is that if you have a choice between moving your unit towards heavy cover or light cover, then you usually maneuver them towards the heavy cover if you have any option at all.
Yes.
And so the fact that there is light cover out there, it ends up being meaningful for edge cases to where you do it motivates you to do the often silly thing of, I have 3 guys behind this tiny piece of wood, but then I have 1 guy behind a barricade, which means that I have heavy cover.
Yeah.
And so, I'll say that maybe most of the function of fill-in terrain is to make the board look better.
I think that's a justification in and of itself. To be honest, but I think functionally as game pieces. I'm not how you put them on the board is mostly kind of whatever for the most part. And unless they're actually tall enough to block line of sight, once we get into taller than a silhouette stuff, I think that conversation changes a little bit. Like if you can hide a model behind it,
right.
That's a little different. But the vast majority of what I think people would put in the fill-in terrain category don't, 95% of those pieces don't do that.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess at the end of the day, I think that the thing that I want to hear back from the various TOs that are listeners about what they think, because I'll be honest, Mike, I'm not somebody who does a ton of terrain setup.
Sure.
I know generally what it should look like, and that the golden rule that I've often used is that the amount of terrain should generally take up maybe slightly more than a quarter of the battlefield when you sort of pile it all together in the corner.
Sure.
Just from a horizontal real estate standpoint.
Yeah. I like to go with a third, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but aside from that, it's the general thing that I do if I'm asked to do setup is to try to just kind of evenly-ish space things apart from each other so that it looks good.
Yeah.
And then try not to have too many gaps where it's a full range 2 gap of no LOS blockers, because if people are playing Jedi, it basically makes that very miserable if you have a full sort of range 2 circle with nothing to hide behind. But aside from that, it's sort of, for me, has been just kind of going with your heart. But obviously there's folks that think about this in a way more complex way that I do. And so I'm going to be curious, people like Andy Terrell, who does mountains of terrain setup in England. I'm sure he'll talk about it on the That's No Moon podcast, but I'm curious what all the EOs and TOs are really going to think of this. You've done more of this than me, Mike, so what do you think of it all?
I think the terrain layout cards are just like a lot of work to like if you're going to take the time to like choose the layouts and then like put the terrain pieces in these exact places. I just like don't really, the vagueness of this document, I'm not sure like what it really gains you from just like doing it normally. I think that this is helpful to someone who has never played a tabletop game before.
Sure.
That maybe bought a terrain thing off wherever and is building their first Legion table ever and is like looking for some very rudimentary guidance on like where to put things. But the things that I would like to see a document like this cover is like should you be putting large terrain pieces next to large terrain pieces, and how far should the large terrain pieces be away from other large terrain pieces, and how many terrain pieces should be difficult, and those don't need to be like hard and fast numbers, but I think some ideas of the what the expectation of that is, I think is vastly more important from when we're coming at this from like the competitive angle.
Yeah.
If the intention of the game is that a Jedi can move in one move from line of sight blocker to line of sight blocker anywhere on the table, is a very different game than if that is not true, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And this document does not answer that question. And it's answers to things like that I would like to see. I don't know how specific you need to get with that, but I would love to see large terrain and then like have some dimensions of what a large terrain actually is like, for instance, the large terrain that's actually pictured in the picture is not completely line of sight blocking. It is actually see-through at certain
like
angles.
Half of it is literally see-through.
Right? So like, is it the intent that large terrain pieces are not line of sight blocking? Like obviously there's some disparity based on board and whatever, but I think from a competitive event, I think having a grasp of what is intended from having like a fair game, I do think is important. Like obviously there are parts of Legion that are inherently unfair, right? And to some degree, terrain is part of that
Wheelback
equation.
Grievous, for instance.
Hanton. Yeah, without a doubt. But I don't. To me, terrain, while it should be perhaps biased, I don't think it should be. I don't think you should show up to a table and be like, well, I'm kind of screwed because I don't have any line of sight blockers or whatever. This document does not fix that or resolve that at all, because it doesn't tell you how you should set up your line of sight blockers. It's just like, you could, in theory, using all the given parameters of this document, make one half of the table fill in terrain and put the line of sight blockers on the other half, right? Obviously, that's extreme. I don't think players in their right mind would choose to do that, but that is a thing that is within the rights of this document if you were to use it as an event guideline, right?
Yeah.
And to some degree, this document is geared for TOs. It does call out event organizers specifically when talking about setting up terrain and things like that. It is there, I think, as an aid. Maybe if this is the first tournament you're running, try this, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I do think that like your point about newer people running a tournament, or even like people playing at home with their kids, right? Yeah. Like, but and so I do think it is good for that situation. I wish that the terrain list with examples had literally just been a picture of a game board. And if they want to use the terrain that they sell, obviously that makes sense. but
totally fine, to be clear.
Like I'm fine with that. Like it totally makes sense for them to do that. But I think this would have been better off as a picture of a game board that had a bunch of this terrain, half of which at least is Shatterpoint terrain, by the way. Where
the lines are blurry at this point. Most of the Shatterpoint terrain is also in Legion boxes. I do own one of these terrain pieces because it was in the Shatterpoint box.
But yeah, like if they have the ability to edit this PDF in the future, just like take a picture and label it, because that's going to be more useful from a relative size standpoint than this, where the scatter terrain looks like it is basically literally the same size as the small terrain, which is not the intent.
Yeah, I will say, I know that you were dumping shade on this from the jump. If, for whatever reason, terrain guidelines were released that were like supposed to be executed on a tournament level, I do think the 40K ones are not bad. From a
fairness standpoint, is what you mean.
And I would go as far as to say is that there are a lot of different layouts.
Okay.
Like I think the sameness, I think, of 40K terrain layouts, as someone who's looked at the documents, is mostly to do with the fact that all of the terrain pieces aesthetically look the same on the board.
So a lot of churches.
Yes. All of that. Yes. A lot of burned churches.
Yeah. It's funny when I think of 40K terrain, it's like, a church that was recently on fire is like the way that I would describe 40K terrain.
But the actual like angles and where they're placed, there's like 30 different maps.
Okay. That's fair.
Like there's actually like a fair number of them. And I think I think the like sameness complaint is because even though all the layouts are different, they still look the same when you walk up to a table. If you play it on Hoth every game, like you regardless of the configuration, it's gonna feel the same, right?
We should be fair to the devs, because the sameness of terrain has literally been an ongoing joke in Star Wars from the beginning of time. More than half the movies involve a desert planet of some kind, which is Tatooine. I don't know, 6/7 of the time anyway.
Yeah.
For every movie except like the couple that had Jeddah. But so, they're working with source material that is already plagued with this from the get-go.
Yeah, which, whatever.
By the way, shout out to Fit Trooper Podcast for literally having just released an episode about this very thing that we're now talking about.
Yeah.
So if you're tired of Mike and I trying to, min-max and find the list that's going to make your opponent cry, if that's not your bag, first of all, what's wrong with you? But second of all, just go ahead and take a listen to the Fifth Trooper podcast, where it's just a couple of dudes yucking it up about having fun playing Star Wars Legion. And Mike is having fun once again in Legion because of the fact that he found a list that allows him to be truly abusive to his fellow players. So we are happy for him. We're about to get an update on that list. But I know that some of you out there are decent people, and that you find a way to have fun with this game in a way that doesn't involve making your opponent cry more. And so if that is you, then do think about checking out the Fifth Trooper podcast. Just want to make sure we did that quick aside. Anything else to say about terrain before we get to hearing about how you've found ways to potentially squeeze even more fun out of your opponent's veins as you crush them with your hands?
I think the vast majority of the people that listen to this podcast, I think this document is good to have, but I don't think you're going to need it. I think
if you've been doing it long enough, I think you're fine.
I think, you can, this isn't going to answer any questions in like a revelatory way where it's like,
Yeah, but I think the thing that those of us who have been playing this game for way too long would say would be like, don't have maps where everything is spindly and pointy. so that you can actually use vehicles with the map. I'm looking at you, a map that I won't name that shows up at Worlds all the time. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I think you're right, but it'll be useful to the newer players.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about some actual Legion stuff. So Mike, give us the update. How are Mandos going for you?
I'm still having an awesome time. I've got a tournament this weekend that I am kind of preparing for.
Mm-hmm.
And I have often, this is a problem I have with list building. I will often build a list, play it a bunch, and then be like, there's no way I can actually make this better, right? I've been trying to break that mold.
Okay.
But I do have a hard time because I think one of the things that the lines I start at are already there's a pretty high bar for me, like putting a list on the table to begin with, you know?
Yeah, like it has to be cheating from jump.
Yeah. It's got to be doing something degenerate.
Yeah.
So the list we talked about, the Kids of the Watch list, that we talked about last episode, what I've been thinking about, and you tell me what you think about this,
Sure.
is making the operative with the sniper rifle, swapping the clan tag on it for Clan Saxon.
Interesting.
Taking Din Djarin out of one of the warrior units and making one of the initiates a Clan Saxon Special Forces unit.
Wow, we're getting really spicy here.
With Tristan. There's a couple things that happen as a result of this.
Can you remind me what Tristan does?
He has Precise 2, and he basically has, like, can be AOC.
He can go into any clan, right?
He can be ordered by anybody. It's like everybody has AOC that's issuing orders specifically for him.
Okay.
But Clan Saxon has independent aim, the special forces. So so you generally just don't give them an order, and you get another aim token on top of all the other things you're doing, right? And it's a double aim token because of Tristan. You also have a speed 3 special forces 5-man unit, which is, I think, adds some additional flexibility. You're not losing anything on the infiltrate package. Like the 6-man infiltrate package is still there.
Yeah.
I don't know. You also get victory or death on the operative and the special forces unit, which is more tokens.
Sure.
If you know,
because otherwise, like the operative was previously a Children of the Watch guy, right?
It was a Children of the Watch with Seize the Initiative. I probably would take Seize the Initiative off in this situation because giving the operative an order doesn't trigger this is the way.
Right.
But the amount of orders I'm handing out every turn basically remains the same. I'm still triggering the same amount of this is the ways. I'm still triggering the same amount of like aim generation, and I'm picking up extra tokens from the special forces unit, which are, it's an aim top of turn, right? I think the only issue I am seeing with it is like the order control is not hot in that situation. Having one special forces in your bag kind of sucks.
Whoa, yeah. I actually didn't think about that.
That's the main drawback. But again, this is a unit that can be ordered by anyone and has defend 1, like if you want to give it an order, it's kind of like triggering this is the way anyways. On itself, it's definitely far more limiting. And I'm thinking maybe the flexibility. My original goal, to be clear, was Tristan. I wanted a way to get Compel in the list. Gar's action is just so expensive. My God.
Yeah, he really is. Like the fact that he's 5 more than Bo-Katan at base is kind of wild.
Sorry, I'm talking about Gar Saxon in the unit.
Oh, in the unit. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
He's 40, right? He's 45, and then he
Tristan's
does give
20.
compel.
Right. And so
Yeah,
the idea there was I couldn't take another commander because I need Bo and I need the direct guy for
right.
sure. Like neither of those pieces can come out. So how do I get compel on the list? He's got to go in a squad. I can't put a squad with Saxon tag in the list without a character. So the operative swaps. That was how I initially went down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't have an extra 20 points, and I'm not sure I can find it. Without, I think I would have to like merc something out of the infiltrate package, which I'm not sure I want to do.
And so when you said you took Din out of the warrior squad, but did you also take that warrior squad with Din? So like, are you exchanging a warrior squad for the super commandos?
The initiates are coming out.
The initiates are coming out. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a perk here. I don't have to take a crappy unit, but I do lose. I do lose a back point holder.
You lose a back cap, right? You could use your operative for that.
But the sniper, I've got 2 snipers characters that are like already decently reasonable at that. I also have to take the whipcord out in this scenario off the operative to find some extra wiggle room, which is not a huge deal. I don't know, these action whipcords, they're fine, but they're no Boba whipcord.
The order control stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so but like how many of your command cards would you be limiting yourself if you tried to basically give it a face up every time?
None, because all of them have, because there's no order restriction because anybody can order him.
Like you lose out on this as the waste stuff on other guys by ordering them. But it ends up being kind of a wash because they have defend 1 anyway.
Sort of a wash. They have independent aim, so like you are losing a token.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like if you're not giving them an order, that's really the money, right? And improv sucks now, so
But it does net give you more firepower.
It does. It for sure does. And it that squad is much faster than anything, all the non characters, right? Like having a speed 3 Mando unit that's fast and has a flamethrower is like, and you can give it charge is like, it's a big game.
And that has the natural surge block.
Yes. And. Yeah,
there's a lot of things.
It's just the issue with these special forces squads is they're very expensive.
Yeah, but Super Commandos at 92 compared to the Clan Kreese veterans at 120, and I realize that you're getting an extra guy in Clan Kreese, but I mean that 92 seems like a normal cost for a expensive-ish special forces, whereas like that 120 for CK is just like, it still just seems kind of so high.
Yeah, it's very high. I think the special forces squad ends up being like with Tristan ends up being like about, it's like 10-15 points cheaper, I think, than the Paz squad. And like the Paz squad is insane.
Yeah. I mean, it is. That is like, very stupid for sure.
I mean, and again, I don't think that squad is over or under costed or it's very dealable, but yeah, I don't know. I do think red saves in general are still just, they're very overvalued from a points perspective in the game presently.
I mean, you say that, and yet you are kicking everybody's butt with a completely red save Mandalorian list.
The red saves almost, it doesn't feel like they matter. Like I don't know how to say that in a way that, or articulate that in a way that makes a ton of like logical sense. But like the impervious and the duelist, I think matter way more than the save on the unit.
Yeah.
And I think the dice pools are so big at this point that like the difference
was
between hold up, let me finish.
sure.
Let me
Okay,
finish.
okay.
The like, if somebody rolls 9 hits into you, whether you're a white surging save or a red non-surging save, it's kind of a wash most of the time. Like you're still losing most of the squad or the whole thing, and it's kind of whatever. And there are very few actual things in the game that surge completely defensively. And the thing about it is that in those situations, there are so many dice being rolled that variance is going to get you eventually. And this is actually a rabbit hole we can go down right now if you feel like we have the time. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, Evan Paul.
Oh, okay. You've been thinking about math.
I've been thinking about math and strictly about why the present version of the game, in my opinion, feels more swingy than any of the other versions of the game that we've played, purely from like a math perspective. Because realistically, if you're rolling more dice over the course of the game, it should be less swingy than if you rolled less dice, because there are more dice to iron out the averages, in theory. Right? Like if you roll 100 dice, you should be closer to the mean than if you roll 10.
Yes, but also you have more. You have like a wider curve in terms of where you can end up by the end of that.
For sure.
Because like failing all, as an easy example, failing all 10 rolls is way less impactful than failing all 100 rolls, right?
Right. But failing all 10 is way more likely to have happened.
Sure, yeah.
Than failing all 100, right? Like failing all 100 is virtually impossible, right? Like it's very close to like the limit is infinity sort of thing. Whereas like failing 10 is actually reasonable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But to that end, I actually think because the game is A, so fast, and B, so spread out, that the like law of averages on kind of those numbers statistically kind of like ironing out over the course of a game are sort of irrelevant, because the thing that matters is that the one time or two times that variance does kick in a game where something radically unexpected or against the math happens, most of the time it's unrecoverable because the game is spread out to the point it is. And what I mean by that is, like, if you have, let's say, a Mando unit or a clone unit or a B2 or whatever on an outside point, and there's no backup to back them up, and you flub that save, the game sometimes is just over. Right.
True.
And like, if the variance hits you there, the fact that it averages out over the course of the game didn't matter. Right. And I think there are a lot of little small pocket instances of like that kind of case, that there are like 2 or 3 places on the table where that could be true at any given point in time in a lot of these new objectives.
That's fair. That's
right.
Fair.
And so it doesn't matter if you're, maybe you're rolling above average on the rest of your stuff. If the one place that the variance kicked you is there, like, the game is just sometimes over. And I think this is where the like red save conundrum comes in that white saves are by design, in most cases, more resilient to that, because a lot of the white save units, specifically the more recent white save units that we've seen be injected into the game, have increased durability that
more
is
wounds
baked into the health pool. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the red save units kind of like, they flunk the save. When variance gets them, poof, they're gone. Right. Whereas the white save units are like, well, I still have 2 dudes left because you couldn't like you couldn't do enough actual raw hits to kill me outright. B1s, sleeper cells, whatever, right?
That's to give an example. It would be like if on payload, if you put your saber tank on defense on your home side, and then that saber tank takes 2 shots from Mandos and is suddenly just like literally dead.
Yes,
which is definitely a thing that could happen
for sure.
Then you can be kicking butt on the other side of the table, but you have lost.
Like the game's just over, right?
The game is over because your home payload is, if that is going to get scored on round 2, like game over, man. And
and I think Republic and Empire, sort of have this problem a little bit more than the other factions. And compounding it, they also don't have very fast units, generally. Right? The units in those lists are also not very fast. So when that variance does strike, it's very hard to reallocate your resources in a way that allows you to get back in the game, right? Unless you took barks, right? Or speeder bikes on the Empire side, like your stuff's moving pretty slowly. If you misdeployed a little bit and variance hit you, you're kind of just up a creek.
The counterpoint would be that I agree with you that variance does seem to matter more, and the fact that there's more dice and there's also more rolls because of cover. That it definitely adds to sort of the feeling of variance. But the counterpoint would be that from a strategy standpoint, it just means that you need to do more of what you were doing before, which is guarding against variance with a combination of both army strategy and list building.
Oh man, if I could take more than 10 units, maybe I would.
Your Mandalorian list guards against variance because of how freaking modified the attack dice are.
No
also
doubt.
How many of them there are.
Yes.
Is that like the number of times that you're going to get totally screwed on attack dice variance with that Mando list is infinitely small. At least that's the way that it feels.
You are not wrong in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of situations outside of that example where you actually you kind of no matter how much you can take Clone Commander Cody as a squad upgrade if you want, it only fixes so much, right?
We'll get into that later.
And I do think the Mando list that I've been playing specifically, I agree, it guards against that variance in a very real way, specifically offensively.
Just like old Rexstar used to do, right, Mike?
Yes. Turns out the best defense is a good offense, and it helps that when you decide to have a good offense, you also get free dodge tokens.
It turns out.
It turns out.
All right, so let's go from an army that throws a lot of highly modified attack dice and also has really good defense to an army that throws even more, much less modified attack dice, but with four units that have pretty good defense and then a bunch of them that have like pretty terrible defense. The Ohnaka gang, which I'll put some pictures up. Mike hasn't seen these yet, but I had mentioned before that I'm sort of like going deep into the pirate theme. I have everybody on like all my bases are a bunch of planks, which was which took a while from a hobby standpoint because I bought a bunch of coffee stirrers and basically cut them all down to size to basically fully cover a Legion Trooper base, and so I had to do that times 44 or however many minis there are when you have 6 super squads plus Hondo.
That's a little much. I'm not sure. That's a length I'm not sure I would go to.
Hey, it looks pretty good, and I'll say that they're not terrible. The weak ways are not terrible from a batch painting perspective because the biggest pain are like the various like piratey leather straps that they have everywhere, like there's suspenders and belts and whatnot. I was also surprised when I sort of like was able to look at the miniatures up close. This is also very on theme, but that I think that like literally half of the minis are amputees of some kind. Is that there's multiple peg legs and then there's multiple robot arms.
Okay.
Which, hey, it just like, I guess it just comes with the territory when you're a pirate. But yeah, really not too much of a pain to paint. The assembly on them is actually like pretty darn easy also. So for making a big army, definitely not nearly as bad as an experience as the worst possible experience, which is doing full Geonosians, something that we will talk about a little bit later in the cast. But I finally got to play my first game yesterday, and I rolled up against my opponent, Will Jasper, who is local that plays at Zulus and is also one of the guys who does TO work. He'll be doing, I think he'll be head judge or one of the co-judges at least for Evergreen Open. He also helps us out with our website, so shout out to Will. But I rolled up to play him, and I was like, "Okay, what are you playing?" And he was like, "I'm playing Rebels." And so I was like, "Well, I've seen this list a time or two." And so, Mike, I'll say this: I had a great time playing Ohnaka Gang, despite the fact that I actually lost.
Sure.
The reason that I lost, aside from the fact that Will knows what he's doing, is that we ended up on Breakthrough, which I actually, in my head, I was like, oh, I'm just going to be doing relentless attacks and tank shots on round 1, and that's great. And just like sort of going full speed ahead because that's what the army wants to do anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that the army doesn't split very well, even though it technically can, because at least my version of it had I'll put the version I played, which was just stolen from Brian Bear anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'll admit, like, if it's a potentially toxic list, then who else but the man himself to get the inspiration from?
Nice.
But it has Hondo and a single raiding party leader as the courage sources. And as we've talked about many times on this podcast, being indomitable alone is not enough to solve your courage problems, especially these days when literally a single sniper shot will just put you into panic territory. And so I think that like splitting didn't end up being very good, and also being aggro with the tanks didn't end up being very good because the friggin' full squad commandos with their impact 6,
they're really good, dude.
Weapon
I've been
and the assault keyword.
Well, now,
like,
yeah,
they're really good. And yeah, if you put your tank out there, then that basically means that they're going to be able to hit you with that squad.
Potentially on round 1 on that deployment.
Yeah, on Breakthrough it's on round 1. And so yeah, I allowed Hondo to get killed because the one card that's in my hand that is basically advertising this is the turn to kill Hondo is Ploy. And so of course I ended up playing that round 2 in order to get a tank to shoot before it died. And so that was the turn that Hondo just like got blasted off the face of the earth, because on a 1-pip he gets 1 independent dodge and he gets 1 surge token, and that ain't enough. But it is a lot of fun. I'm definitely gonna keep doing it and figure out how to play it. It's clear the list generally is very good, and we'll get to yet another real life example, which will also raise a question about list building that I will bring up. But I'll also say this: the whole thing of double arcing an opponent and then rolling Frenzied Gunner 3 times for your split fire on the front arc and then the door gunners on the side arc, it feels a lot less silly because of the fact that they don't surge to anything. And so you end up with a lot of surge results that just end up being a whole bunch of blanks. So it doesn't feel super duper abusive. But like you talked about the variance thing, this list, my title for it is 158 attack dice, because that is literally when it is full health, it rolls 100 up to 158 attack dice if you get the perfect split fires and double arcs and whatever. Yeah. It's a lot of dice.
That will put most, if you roll on the high end of 158, you could put a red save army in the ground in a turn.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like literally full to dead.
The fact that I was playing against Rebels, which is built to be able to withstand that quite a bit more, especially when you have multiple units with low profile, and because then when you're splitting fire, you're like actively taking away from your potential damage every time. And then also multiple units with nimble, or, they have the Rebel troopers with nimble agile. And so that's maybe the list that, to your example, Mike, is maybe best prepared to handle just a boatload of attack dice the way that the Weequay army puts out. Yeah. But we were still in sort of a stalemate zone until, from an objective standpoint, I just fell too far behind. But yeah, man, Eyes on the Prize Relentless is really good. Yeah. The wild thing that did happen was, on round one, a unit coming out of a transport and then double moving into an activated Jin, so that the double moving into Jin, and then after that, just like turning all the guns around and shooting the naked Rebel troopers next to Jin.
The relentless shooting out of melee.
Yeah,
staying
it's crazy.
Safe. I don't know. I look at some of these like interactions and I'm like, I'm sorry, we couldn't have normal standbys, like, but you could do this. like I don't know.
That's a really good point, Mike. Is like comparing a relentless like a relentless Bad Batch, getting out of activation activated by Yoda and doing the steady shot or whatever, or the relentless fives unit getting activated by Yoda out of activation and taking the extra shot. Is that really actually worse than the idea of Frenzied Gunner proccing 3 times with the wheeler shots and then doing this thing that in game universe is really stupid, which is that you have 7 Weequay guys that are literally running up in Jyn Erso's face and going like, yo, but just kidding, blah, 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 into the naked Rebel troopers that are right next to her.
And Jin's basically putting up an invulnerability shield on them,
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, as the rules are written, like that's how it works, right?
Yeah, this is literally how it works. Exactly.
But I would go as far as to say that it's just as complicated, if not more complicated, to wrap your head around the hows and the whys of it happening. In addition to the fact that it's like from a like theme wise allowing it to happen, it's far more unrealistic that these guys are just like boom, 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 and my guy just like, I mean, I spent a standby, so I attacked something.
Right, exactly.
like I don't. Anyways, yeah. It's
have
also
you played against it yet? You have, right?
I haven't. I have not.
Okay, interesting.
Had the privilege of playing against the guys that have Mando Stronger Together without having to have Bo-Katan. Because they have that too. To be clear,
they do, but there's one very key difference between the two lists in terms of, especially the round 1 abuse potential, which is the range question.
Oh, you mean the range where you don't have to be at range 2 of a friendly unit in order for it to trigger?
Okay, no, but I mean, like, this list is not going to do all that much damage on round 1 in most circumstances, right?
I agree. Yeah,
but whereas your Mando list certainly it does.
But I would go as far as to say as most Mando lists are closer to the amount of damage or aim token expenditure that your list has than my list is going to have. Unless you're not playing kids, like if you're not playing Kids of the Watch, Infiltrate.
Most Mando lists are more normal than that.
They are more normal, and they like probably aren't shooting that often on turn one. So I do think mine is a little bit of an amalgamation there, but
that's true.
You do get Mandos are stronger together as weak ways for free.
And that part is definitely nice. Also, it was like something to get used to with the list is that I realized like halfway through round one, like, oh, I shouldn't have put the free transport token on any of these guys. Because I took away their independent by doing that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's just like me being relatively new to mercenaries coming out of a truck or whatever.
Sure.
So that was just like a newbie mistake on my part, because it sure would have been nice to get the free tokens.
Yeah, because you probably put down like 4 extra orders, right?
Yeah, I put 4 extra orders down, exactly.
So I had to think about how many aims you were losing from that for a second.
I also like anybody out there who's been having success with the Ohnaka gang. Happy to hear your feedback. I'm not sure if there's any like streamed games that I can catch, but to me, it's sort of an open question about what command to actually play on round one. Is it literally just standing orders to keep Hondo relatively protected and to try to go last, or versus like I actually put, because I don't think Hondo's 3-pip seems very good in that list, because you're a little bit more too spread out to make a ton of use out of the free token thing. Sure. Is that I think that like I just put assaults in there and I played that round one in order to get orders on 3 of my tanks and to like have a little bit of control.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
To sort of like make sure that they can kind of go out when I want them to go out. But yeah, so there's still some things I got to figure out, but boy, it really is a lot of fun, which both of us, I think, predicted from the second that we saw the Battle Force document that this, whether or not it was going to be good, it's very silly. And so there's something to that on its own, in my opinion.
I mean, you say it's fun, but I think jury's out on if it's fun to play against.
Sure. I will say that, like, aside from the fact that you have like the armor 40 situation on the tanks that is sometimes going to be an issue.
Yeah.
But the weak ways themselves, they die.
Assuming they're not invulnerable in melee. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. And, you know, maybe this rebel list was one that is extra primed to succeed against it because it has Han Luke, it has Hantan, it has Luke-Tan, it has Cassian fleets.
Has a lot of inbuilt melee answers.
Yeah, like it's got Jin. Like this list also had 2 standard Tauntaun units, and so like a very melee focused rebel list is going to have pretty good success against weak ways, I think. But you know, Will and I were talking that I don't know, against a standard Imperial list, maybe this is why you know there was the talk of from Justin about why he was proccing against weak ways so much with his Empire list, was that most Empire lists, I think, actually would have a huge problem with weak ways.
There's not a lot of like innate impact.
Right.
Generally.
And their innate melee is Riot Control Squad.
Well, their innate melee is Darth Vader, who actually suffers tremendously against things that get free dodge tokens.
The free dodges everywhere. You know, Vader swinging against them and doing like 4 wounds is sort of like, oh.
like that is an unacceptable amount of wounds for
no, it's yeah, you're literally doing 40 points worth of damage with your Vader activation.
Yeah.
And he just can't have that.
No.
Like you need to be doing better than that.
Not when you can swing into a Clan Kreese squad and take 130 points off the table.
Yeah, exactly. Slightly better.
In the space of the same swing.
Yeah. But I think actually we're going to transition from that to talking about this tournament in Germany, which was not a GT as far as I can tell, but like it caught my eye because the players involved, and also because it was a 35-person event, and the winner of the tournament, Marcus Wacker, was playing a Ohnaka gang list. So we'll get to that in a second. But we are going to go over the top 5 question mark, starting with Obi-Hans Kenobi, who is one of 2 Swiss players that were in the top 5. So nice job, Swiss players. I think that pretty much the entire Legion Switzerland community is from the German speaking part of Switzerland. So sure. Everybody can chill and speak German in a German tournament, which took place in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. And Obi-Hans Kenobi appropriately was playing a Gar list. This list looks fairly similar to the Gar list that we talked about in one of those tournaments during our last cast, which is to say that it's sort of Yoda good stuff.
We're gonna put good stuff in air quotes, but sure.
good stuff for Republic. I mean, but it's Yoda, it's Padme, it's got some mortar marksman, and it has
the old 1 top of turn surge token Republic list. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is like it's like the butter spreading bot in Rick and Morty. What is my function? You have a single shareable surge token. Oh. But other than that, it's actually kind of like a Highlander-ish list where it has one of each of the special forces options. It has an ARF, an ARC, and a Wookiee, and then it has a LAT and an ISP. The ARF is there to be a platform for the Clone Commander Cody, who is at the same time like one of the best personnel or one of the best squad leader options for Gar, and also one of the most frustrating. Why is that, Michael?
He just, yeah. There's a lot of like non-bowish stuff going on with him. If you put him into a mortar squad, like you actually don't get tokens on turn 1 if you. Sorry, not mortar, marksman squad.
Marksman, yeah.
Like the vehicle doesn't start on the table, so mechanized infantry doesn't proc.
You miss out on 2 tokens on one of the most important rounds of the game.
It's like great. That interaction is the most important on turn 1 and 2, probably.
Yes.
Specifically on units that shoot range 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the ARF squad, he's just it's an expensive unit.
It's an expensive unit, and Obi-Hans decided to do #the full ARF.
He did,
which is something that I think Mike and I are still a little bit out on in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, look, if you strip the points away from that unit, like if you don't look at the points cost of how much it costs you, it is a decent unit. Right?
Isn't that sort of the if my grandma had 2 wheels, she'd be a bicycle sort of situation?
I'm trying to look at the upside here, Evan.
Okay.
I don't think the unit, like once it's on the table, like once you leave the list building phase, right?
Sure.
And like you're playing with it, like, no, the unit's not bad, but is it worth what it costs? No, it's not.
What does that unit cost? So we got 66 plus Clone Commander Cody is 28, plus an RPS is 24. Really? And then it's like Arrested Development. Her. And then the ARF duo is 20. That is 138 points, Michael.
Yeah. That is, and how many dice does that throw?
So you're gonna have Cody is 3, the RPS is 3, and then the rest of it is 6. So it's 12.
Okay. So, and it has 1 aim token from mechanized infantry.
It does, and it surges nothing.
Nice. The pad is basically the same cost. It's 4 extra dice. The dice are they a lot better? They're about the same, I guess. Except you surge natively, no surge tokens required, and you have 4 aim tokens instead of 1.
And like we shouldn't forget that the unit has Scout 1, which is helpful. What's even better than Scout 1 is the infiltrate that a Aquadroid with a heavy Aquadroid has for 106 points, which has basically also the same dice as that unit. So anyway,
I mean, again,
hang on, am I doing the math right? Is that 32 points less than the Cody unit? Is the Aqua with the heavy?
Yeah, dude. Like,
oh boy.
like, and that's sort of like, it's just like, I don't know. I actually think that the best use case of Cody is probably just like you take an ARF trooper, and you just like treat Cody as the heavy. But at the same time, that unit's still over 90 points.
Yeah. It is frustrating that, like, you know, Rex doesn't have a unit restriction. Even though I don't know, Rex is not the kind of guy who would be hanging out in a long range squad. He doesn't have the patience for that. No. Rex has got to be like jumping in there and double blasting dudes with his dual pistols. Like, so the fact that Rex can go into a marksman squad, but Cody cannot go into an infantry squad, which would be the perfect place to put him, is a little bit frustrating, especially because I think, you know, both of us like the ability that Cody gives you so much, and yet you can't put it where you want to.
Yeah. I do think that generally restricting the squad leader upgrades to unit types is probably a good thing. I think
it's good that Asajj is BX only and that Grievous is Magna only. It adds flavor and it makes those units interesting.
It also like sort of cages the potential problem interactions, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Which I do think is a relevant piece to this puzzle.
That's true.
You know, but I do think that it requires you to like put the squad leader upgrades in places that you actually want to take them.
Accurate.
So yeah, I mean, again, I think Cody and ARFs is fine. I think ARFs just still are not costed appropriately on a baseline. You know, 66 for that squad is just the fact that probe droids are like free actioning observing things for what are they, 35 points or whatever, and like these ARF units are like, no, we gotta take an action to do it, man. Yeah, it's silly.
And I know I'm piling on here, but it also hurts the whole Cody personnel thing when you consider that in 212th, your two options for a commander are Cody as a commander, and then a gentleman who is literally buried 28 feet underground. I think he gets deeper and deeper every time we talk about it, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I don't know who you're talking about. I'm waiting for Obi-Wan Kenobi to be released. I hear he's coming out in a couple months.
He is coming out, and just watch when Obi-Wan a Bark is not legal in 212. Won't that be a day? Anyway, number 4, we have Kai Heinrichs, who unfortunately is not appearing in this film. His encoded list is not showing up on Longshanks, so I am sorry for that, Kai. It is a Rebel list though, so I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that it had Hantan and Cassian, and maybe Han Luke, or Luke Tan rather, and some commandos, and then some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like
because that's what Rebel is building these days. Then next we have Finn Hager, who is that Hager or Hager? You can tell me, Finn. Sorry about that. Also somebody that we see pop up pretty often, and who once again had an incredibly long subtitle to his list, which I'm not going to read the entire thing out loud, but bravo to you for continuing to do this. I still think it's funny. Finn was running an Empire list, and so you could on one hand say, oh, it's an Empire list with Thrawn and 2 Dark Troopers with assault cannons. What else is, these are things that we've seen before, but something that we certainly have not seen very often, maybe it'll be a new trend, maybe not, is that the bulk of his, one of the biggest bulks of shooting that he has on the list, he does also have Din, by the way, but that he has 2 Pike super squads, one of which has both heavies and the other of which has just the disruptor, as well as a Pike capo, which is pretty much required because of self-preservation. If you're running the super squad, then you can't have the capo in the squad, which is normally the way around that. We've talked a bit about the Pike super squad in theory, Mike, about how it is something that's available to all the real factions except for Mandalorians, because again, they are a real faction now. And that it is a pretty good deal from a shooting perspective. So, like, what do you think about this? Like, where do you see the synergy in having 2 Pike super squads in an Empire list here?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I'm curious about it.
Yeah,
when I see
Finn,
Pike super squads,
tell us.
The immediate reaction I have is fire up the barbecue.
They do die fairly quickly. And especially in a Thrawn list when he can't share with them, nor can he direct to them.
Correct. Which actually makes the aid and stuff, like outside, like in a normal Pike like Shadow Collective list, I think you can actually like really dump some dodge tokens on a unit that needs it. It's really hard to do that here. Like you actually have to like strategize on the unit, right?
Yeah.
Like you could strategize the capo and then the unit itself and dump a bunch of tokens, but that does require Thrawn to like actually activate. You lose some tempo.
You also have to spend 3 suppression tokens to get all that out there, because the strategize and then the aid.
Yes. Yeah, it's
and so that's not nothing either.
For sure, particularly in a list that I think doesn't have any Inspire. At the end of the day, I do think that there's Compel in the list, which probably goes a long way in DTF. It's got 2 pass tokens, so it's a 13-act list.
It's got the Dark Trooper cheating.
So and it's got a minimum of 2 pass tokens, I guess, really. And it's always going last against things that don't have the Dark Trooper have a keyword that says unstoppable on it, so unless you're playing Han, you're probably going to get shot by Pikes on turn 1.
Yeah.
Or DTs, I guess. The DTs in this list are a little bit less scary, but
it's a fair amount of shooting, and then also I feel like, I mean, he has like 2 storms and 1 snow to fill the core requirement. So in a way, like this list has sort of an old school look to it.
It does, because it's also got whistling birds. I have not seen that command card in anybody's list in a long time.
I guess the question would be, the Whistling Birds is 3-pip, right?
Yes.
So he would have Thrawn 3, and then like his other.
No, that's not what he's got.
Oh, wow! Maybe I should actually pull up the list.
He's playing Discretion.
Oh, Discretion.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That does give them some dodges. Wow. Interesting list.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, at least the Thrawn 2-pip would allow you to use it to do an attack with a Pike unit.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
So that's a pretty big free attack.
Or Din,
Yeah, God.
And Din does have Darksaber in this list. That is an important thing to call out.
Yeah, because Din needed that upgrade from Beskar Spear.
He needed to be cheaper, man.
Just
cheaper and better.
Yeah, exactly.
Turns out you can save red save units.
Yeah, you can have it all. Next list from Bjorn is a CIS list. So this is a good title, A Bug's Life. This has Poggle, it has Sunfac, it has 4 Geos with not the Super Squad, but the extra guy and a Force Pike, which is, the Force Pike is something that I've exclusively seen in Europe, but obviously there certainly can be something to it. And then there's 2 naked Geo squads along with 2 Decas and 2 Aquas. And that's it, Mike. There's nothing else going on with it. Oh, wait. Wheel by Grievous. So it does come out at 13 activations. Not a ton, and so it's 13 acts where 4 of them are naked geos and Sunfac and Poggle, who are not going to be, giving you a ton on the attack dice or durability standpoint, but the rest is like just sort of pretty efficient unit spread out there.
I mean, when Wheel by Grievous tables most players on his own, you don't really,
True. I think the one thing that I'm really wondering about this, and Bjorn did very well. He is 4-1, but this list doesn't have Brutal Enforcer in it. It has Ambush. And I don't know. I just like. I know you and I are on the same page on this, but I just think Brutal Enforcer is an incredible card.
Does Brutal Enforcer only give orders to?
It gives orders to Sunfac and up to 2 Geonosian warriors.
But you can't give it to Grievous, man.
Or no, sorry. I think I apologize. It's Sunfac only. Yeah. But you can move Sunfac and up to 2 Geo warriors with the free
he's
move.
got direct, so you're still handing out 1.
Yeah. So that part is true, that you can't give. It means that it's a 1 pip that you can't give to Grievous. And to be fair, the reason why but even then is like I would typically take mechanized, whatever it's called, the generic separatist 1 pip, because that can give you 2 orders usually, and it also gets Grievous. Mechanized incursion, because having sometimes after your Jedi Urge turn, if your opponent did enough damage to Grievous that you want to activate him first and get another activation off before he dies,
is important.
Is that like that can be important? So that is probably the reason.
Yeah, and I think it notably in the list that you like to play with Sunfac, I think there's a much lower cost to playing Brutal Enforcer, because you often have like 10 order tokens even on that card,
true,
right?
True.
He's got no order control in this list at
all. He has
all.
improviser orders on
outside of direct in the improv, right?
Yeah. Which is better than what most list has, but
sure, but most lists that are playing Brutal Enforcer, that is not true of, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know.
But honestly, in the hands of any player that knows what they're doing, if you have a list that is mostly Geos, just the fact that you're mostly Geos can just win games for you.
Remember when we were talking about flexibility and being able to rearrange yourself on the battlefield when variance bites you? Well, turns out the bug's life is for you.
Exactly. And especially when you, like, if you take a look at the objective, his secondary objectives especially, he has retrieve the data, align the relay, supply run. These are all things that having a whole crapload of Geos on your team is really good with, because those are all action objectives, and they get to move for free, which makes them really good at action objectives, it turns out. So, yeah, I think this is actually, to me, a good example of, now that we have Battle Card Pack 2, is that we are somewhat closer to the old Legion zone of specialty lists that can cater towards a battle card deck to a greater extent than they were able to before.
I think there's just halves.
I don't think we're there.
I think
we're
there's
closer to it.
There are haves and have-nots, and is how I feel about it. Like
sure.
I don't think there's really like, oh, I tailored my list so that I can do these. It's like, no, I just have units that take 3 to 6 actions a turn, and your units only take 2. Sorry.
When you put it that way, and you think about like the fact that Gar, for instance, where their free movement options are, as far as I can remember, literally Barks and Fluttercraft, which are both in the same slot, and compared to something like CIS, where you can literally put free movement into your core slot, or you can have overclock, or you can have staffs.
In Republic, you can spend half of your most expensive units activation to move something else.
Yeah, what about guidance? What about guidance, Mike, on both Yoda and the venerable Jedi General? Michael.
You can spend 80 points a turn to do
it. Anyway, speaking of action efficiency, we'll move on to Marcus Wacker, who won.
Just before we move on, real quick.
Okay, sure. Are you not done ragging on Republic this time?
No, no.
Okay, good.
Do you remember when it was? I don't remember when the last time I said that. Remember when I posited that maybe Yoda's guidance should just be free action now? Do you remember having that conversation?
I remember that.
Is that even a wild thing to say at this point?
I feel like that could be abusable as standby tokens if it was a free action.
Abusable in a way that's
even though standbys kind of suck now.
above the power level of all of the other shenaniganry going on.
No, actually, no. When Hantan exists at 90, and you have a CIS list where everybody's just triple moving plus Jedi arts, and then over here we're about to talk about all the stuff that Weequay does when it's running on full steam, and then you have the Mandalorian stuff. It's just like a parade of brokenness that it feels like most of the factions have access to.
I mean, literally, if you give the armorer an order,
she recovers 2 units,
or just moves another one. It's guidance.
Yeah, that's right.
In the command
really
phase,
good.
I don't know.
God. When you put it that way,
right? I don't know. You make Yoda's guidance a free action if he gets an order. Okay, great.
It's like Celebrity Jeopardy when on SNL where it's literally Trebek was going literally just tell me a color. Tell me what your favorite color is. This is for charity. That's what it feels like, that every faction except Republic has access to something like that now. Literally, just look at me. Look at me. Here's a bunch of tokens. That's what your Mandalorian list does. But yeah, boy. You want to activate twice every round? Sure.
Why not? It's fine.
90 points. Boy. Anyway, as I was saying, speaking of action efficiency, Marcus Wacker played the Ohnaka gang. And so Marcus did something pretty different from what I was doing. Again, when I was fumbling around, I'm sure Marcus has had quite a bit of practice with this, but he made some different list building decisions compared to what a lot of people are doing, where you're sort of dumping extra points into the wheelos to give them door gunners to really squeeze all of the possible juice around Frenzied Gunner.
Yep.
And so his is Honda with frags only. He's got Weequay Pirates with 2 of them have the full super squad plus an Electro Staff. Mike, I'm going to embarrass myself here. Do you remember what the Electro Staff actually does? Does it have any super cool keywords? I'm looking it up now.
I want to say
this
it's
is
red,
me being a bad
black
Weequay player, but so yeah, the Electro Staff Pirate is red black, like you said, and it's sidearm melee. And the unit gets immune melee pierce, which is
it's like you get duelist, but you don't have to spend dodge tokens.
Actually, wow. On a white save unit, having immune melee pierce can feel sort of subpar, but as long as you get some saves, it's worth it, right?
Man, I bet you that's pretty good against the faction that plays all Jedi.
Fair. I guess I'm coming at it from the perspective of remembering when I played the super attack the Kraken 2 pip, and then it's oh boy, my Aqua Droids just got immune melee pierce and it didn't really feel like it was all that good. But
yeah.
for Weequays it actually is quite good, as long as you roll some saves. But so yeah, he had 2 of those as super squads, which again, because of the rules, you have to be transporting. Like if you want 4 tanks, you have to have 4 weakways, which is sort of like duh. But you also have to be transporting all of those weakways.
Sorry, is it an obligation that they transport something? I'm not like super like.
Yes, they have to have a weakway for each tank, and they have to have a transported weakway, which means that if
so you can't choose not to transport them.
You can choose to not give them the order, but I don't think you can choose not to transport them.
Like you have to deploy them out of the tank. Like normally a unit that you've selected for the transport ability, when the tank deploys, you could choose to not deploy it, right?
Oh,
and deploy
I guess you
it
can,
normally.
Yeah, you can. So you can still do that thing.
Okay.
You only are limited from, like, you have to declare them as a transported unit.
Okay.
Which again, when that's so flexible, it sort of makes me wonder, like, why things are like that. But
because there's like almost zero world where you wouldn't take 4 weakways in this list, right? Because there are no other options.
What else are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
But it just says it must transport a weakway pirate unit, and it has like the capital T in transport.
Sure.
So in that way, it's kind of weird because it's using it as like a verb.
Sure, it like sort of implies that you're
but it's also capitalizing the transport, which makes me think of the keyword.
Yeah.
So I'm going to admit that I actually don't know the rules interaction on that one.
Okay.
Apologize for that one.
To be fair, not actually super clear.
Yeah. I think that's fair. So the rest of the list, he also has one pirate, one full squad pirate without the electro staff, and then one naked pirate. So that way he has his requisite 4. And then he's got the 4 wheelers as usual. 2 of them have frenzied gunner. All of them have the weakway crew because it's free. If you're not doing door gunners, you might as well put that in there, and it ends up being extra tokens, which is nice.
Oh, free tokens! Nice.
Yeah, free tokens. Nice. Why not? And then he also has 1 raiding party leader. And on top of all that, he has 3 swoops. And so basically what this does compared to the one that I played is that you're subtracting quite a bit from the big pile of relentless versatile attack dice from the weakways, and that your net, so you're basically cutting that almost in half in terms of like the amount of weakway relentless abuse that you can be doing. But you gain an activation because the list I was running is 11 acts, and you get the double bonus along with 1 anti-bonus of having the swoops in there. The anti-bonus is that it makes your pool dirtier in a list that already has a problem with dirty pools. But the bonuses are that swoops are generally good.
Turns out
it is a triple mover, and it's a triple mover where you don't sacrifice action efficiency in the act of triple moving, which is extra lovely.
And when it comes to triple attacker too.
Yeah, it's triple mover, triple attacker, exactly. And so that makes it, along with the wheelers themselves, like, it makes this list pretty darn good at many different objectives. When you put all that stuff together, and of course the weakways have the built-in action efficiency of having relentless eyes on the prize, which it sort of turns the whole list into action efficiency, you might say, which is very good in this game, from what we hear. And yeah, like, the thing that I'm trying to figure out, obviously Marcus did very well, but we've seen other varieties of Ohnaka gang doing very well. There can't be that many varieties because there's literally 5 units that are allowed in the army. But what do you think in terms of taking upgrade points away from the wheelos, and then also taking weakway pirates away and putting that into swoops at the cost of your order control situation? Like, what do you think of that, Mike?
Well, there is one big bonus that you didn't talk about, which is that it doubles the demoralize.
Oh yeah, so I should have mentioned that also, because you have raiding party leader, who, by the way, is a huge target.
Sure, for sure.
And we'll probably die by the middle of round 3, but for maybe by the end of round 2, honestly. because of how big a target it is. But like Demoralize 7 is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's almost like, you know, over the course of a turner, you can slice calm somebody 3 times. 3,
yeah,
you know,
especially because the range 2 bubble from a Wheelo is enormous.
Yeah, it's huge.
So like, you know, if you want to pile the Demoralize on, then like you think about how, you know, you had to have respect, at least some respect in the past for the double bust triple swoop list, with having Demoralized 5. But this is, you know, 2 more of that, and then the surface area that you're covering is way more.
Yeah, this is like if you don't have a Courage 4 or higher commander, like you can panic things at will.
You can just panic stuff at will.
Just like
yeah.
Which I think is just it's a tool in the toolbox, right? Like I think the weak way, like Wheelo thing is already very powerful. I think the swoops with, you know, bringing in, you know, 3 more sets of Demoralize is like on top of the fact that they're also just very inherently like pretty efficient units.
Sure.
Is a big deal. As to which one is better, I don't know. They're both doing degenerate things in different ways, you know.
Fair.
I think in certain matchups, you'll probably wish you were playing the swoop bike variant. I think in other matchups, you would probably be wishing you had the big weak way squads.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's probably closer to like a meta call thing than,
that could be.
You know, like for instance, if you are playing a lot of like weak way mirrors, which I don't think is that unreasonable.
Sure, not now.
You know, this is not the only version of Ohnaka Gang in this top 8. And this is not the only tournament we've seen in the last month with multiple copies of Ohnaka Gang in the top 8. You know, if you're fighting against a bunch of other weak way lists, like I think the swoops get a lot worse because their small dice pools kind of suck into armor, and they're not super great into things
dodges
that have dodges and or low profile and nimble, right?
Right. Well, it's fine against low profile for the most part, but
with the overrun attack, sure. But like nimble dodges are still very effective against you know, the thing
for sure.
Know? So I think in those situations you would rather have just like had a bunch of weak ways, probably. You know, so tough
I
to
think
say.
that if you're, you know, if you're confident enough in your swoop play, which is not easy at all, like you need to have a lot of speeder practice to really squeeze the juice out of this list. You know, Marcus is a very seasoned player, so no doubts about any of that. But I do think that actually this means I need to build my swoops, so I guess it gives me an excuse to do that.
There you go.
I also need to figure out how to pirate them up to make it fit with the rest of my list. But yeah, I do think that I like this more because even though it does have a little bit, it actually might have more attack dice potential when it no, it doesn't have as much attack dice potential without all the super squads in there of weak ways, but it's like the whole door gunners thing actually didn't feel as amazing as I thought it would when most of them have frenzied attached to them, just because of the lack of modification. Is that I rolled a lot of frenzied gunner door gunners dice where it was like 3 black 2 white, and then I just get 1 hit, and it's against like agile rebel troopers.
Yeah,
I'm sort of like, what am I doing here?
I mean, like on average, you know, frenzied gunner adds like half a hit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You know, if you're splitting it across 3 pools, you're picking up a hit and a half. That's not nothing, right? Obviously, that's like an average of plus 6 if you're able to hit it on all 4 tanks. Which is good for sure. But I definitely have found I think my issue with that situation is more got to do with door gunners and frenzied gunner.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. I think the door gunners is more expensive than it feels like it's actually contributing.
I think I think door gunners is actually is an upgrade is in the too expensive category for the vast majority of things you could put it on.
I think that maybe the best use case of it is the snail tank because it surges hit, and because because the downside of the snail tank with the weak point size is like somewhat taken off by the fact that it has the whole nimble defense protocols thing. But even then, it doesn't feel like it's like game breakingly good.
No, yeah, it's fine. 2 black, 2 white, non-surging is pretty,
and it's more suppression, which is always nice, but
sometimes it's sometimes more suppression. The amount of times I've rolled door gunners, I'm like, yep, let's move on. Is pretty high.
Nothing. Okay, cool.
And for like a 12-point upgrade, I don't know. 12 points is a lot for an upgrade that is not a mini,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What else is 12 points? Not vigilance anymore. Vigilance is now 9.
True.
A burst of speed is 10. Force choke is 10. Is anything else in that 12 slot? Something's got to be. Is unstable's now like something way higher than that, right?
Yeah, it's like 18 or something crazy like that now.
HQ uplink is 10. I think HQ uplink is a better upgrade than door gunners. Yeah, right? Probably.
Depends
on the units you want it on, right? Like,
yeah. What's probably 12 points is like the extra clone trooper. Right?
Yeah. Which literally has never been taken in the history of 2.6
never been taken
ever
in Star Wars Legion.
We used to take the captains. There was a time. There was a time.
My mistake. The clone trooper infantry extra guy is 13 points.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, there was a time.
The marksman extra guy is 14 points. Now, that's one where I feel like...
Riddle me this, Evan.
Did they just forget that it existed when they made the marksman cheaper?
I don't know. Probably.
Probably. They were like, we thought that this unit was more valuable than it was when we designed it, so we made the unit and the super squad cheaper. Was there one more thing that we needed to do? Nah. Maybe we're just gonna use that crap anyway.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. That the marksman is 14, and the clone engineer, which you'd almost always get some utility out of, is only 3 more points. Like, why would you ever? Nobody ever plays that either.
I mean, there's a lot of personnel and squad upgrades that nobody ever plays in clones.
Yeah, yikes. Waxer. We need justice for Waxer. When are we?
Is he still 20? Is he still 20-ish?
He's still 20 for Scout 1 and Disciplined 1.
Yeah. Oh
man. Justice for Justice for Waxer. So nice job to all those players in Germany. And we will certainly keep an eye on the meta. We're still like 3 weeks out from sort of the true meta.
What does that even mean, Evan? What do you true meta? What
the true meta of when Mandalorian customizables are allowed in standard legal tournament play.
Okay.
Because even for these,
I thought you were gonna say when Mace Windu came out.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's the true meta. Is Mace Windu coming out in early August? Really?
I think so. I think it's like August. I don't know about early. I think it's like August 20th or something like that.
Oh God.
I will say I've still not pre-ordered that box. I don't think I'm gonna, now that I'm having so much fun with Mandos, honestly. I think I'm just gonna...
We still don't know what the... Or wait, we don't know what the personnel Just do you right.
It doesn't matter, Evan. Like, they can't be good enough to make this better. like there's like not a world where this box makes anything. Yeah, I want to be hopeful.
But
for
hang
that,
on, we're gonna get Shock T personnel, which even that.
The only use case really for Shock T is in Clan Kreese. It's like, it's fine, you know.
The already very expensive.
It's just so expensive, you know. That, you know, you get a Vader on that unit, and he just buys himself back in a turn. You laugh, but I'm not really.
No, you're right.
It's like, swing my lightsaber once and makes his points back, you know. With how Impervious works now. So yeah. It
is hilarious how think about the difference between we have one scene in the canon of Vader just going to town on a bunch of like regular people.
Fleet troopers, sure.
Yeah. And so think about the difference of like points that you're getting back of Vader slicing against a Cassian fleet trooper squad, which is almost literally what happened in Rogue One.
It's like the entire hallway, yeah.
Yeah. Versus slicing Clan Kreese in terms of the number of points that he gets back.
Not only that, but he could slice the Cassian Superfleet squad 3 times and still not get the same amount of points as slicing the Clan Kreese squad once.
Yeah, and they're still rolling like 11 attack dice against the guy when they hit back.
Yeah,
with 2 minis or whatever stupid crap it does. I still hate Cassian from a theme standpoint, Mike.
It's okay. The Cassian squad, I think, is not long for the Legion world because the flamethrowers are everywhere. But
that's true. That is going to be a change in the balance of power for sure. So that might be a self-correcting problem. But
that's not really a problem for Cassian. That's just a problem for super squads in general, which feels a little bit unfixable now that
Cassian is
Cassian
kind of like the last guy standing as far as super squads go in general.
I mean, Republic super squads have been dead for 6 months at least.
Yeah, and then I kind of don't count the more mundane super squads such as like Ewoks and Weequays because that's less of an investment.
Yeah.
In terms of like what you're losing by the whole squad getting flamed, like
they're more like heavy weapon upgrades than super squad upgrades as far as the cost investment, which maybe is where super squad should live. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
I wonder if we've talked about that. But yeah.
Yeah. The Rebel and Empire super squad. Sorry, the Republican Empire super squads seem like almost a distant past now.
I think Shores and like Pikes.
Oh, sure.
Pikes are like the last vestiges of like super squadding that I've seen people really trying to do in like a very real way, not a for fun way, you know. And I'm not even really sure how reasonable that is at this point.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Mandos are just going to be popular forever, I think, is the main thing. Like, they're never going away from flamethrowers.
Sure.
Flamethrowers are here to stay, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a special forces squad that can take flamethrowers and both the good guy factions, right? So,
do you think rebels are going to take Clan Ren?
I suspect that when Han is finally nerfed,
you mean in in November?
Maybe. You know, I think this is, we can save this for another podcast, but I do think the time in between like emergency nerfs is like way too long. And like I'm overplaying against Haunton, I'm overplaying a Wheel by Grievous, and everybody else I know is too.
It's funny that like in my head, Wheelbite Grievous actually got nerfed when that in fact has not happened.
Do you feel that way just because you like stopped playing him, sort of?
It's I guess because I stopped playing him, and I do also think that the existence of Mandos in general, with their and also the existence of Ohnaka gang, both of which I think would be pretty darn good against Wheelbite Grievous, is that his relative insanity, along with the fact that people get used to him, feels a lot less than it used to be.
I just I don't think any unit in the game should exist that can just like dunk your opponent's whole army in one activation.
That's probably true.
Like I don't think that should exist. You want to cap the command card or whatever, like you should not be penalized for attempting to score objectives. Which is what Wheelbite Grievous is.
Yeah.
Like when you boil it down to like the bare bones, what is Wheelbite Grievous's spin thing? It is your opponent is punished for playing the game.
Well, someone also say that your current Mando list punishes your opponent for deploying.
Sure, I'm not saying that the Mando list. I think I'm not sure I've played the Mando list enough to just definitively be like this is OP. It could be.
Yeah. How glass is your house, Michael?
I mean, look, somebody in the comments section of our most recent video. Hold up. I want to read this because I thought it was. I think they were being serious, but I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, okay. We've reached the part of the podcast where Mike is making fun of and/or criticizing our listeners.
Quick!
Everyone's favorite part.
I think I'd love to see you guys address the question of whether or not the creation of an army that is so OP that it creates a negative player experience for others is actually good for the game and the community.
You're asking the wrong guy as far as that question goes.
Of course it is.
Yeah, Mike's going to give you the same answer every time.
The thing is, I think the real answer to that question is, if it wasn't us, be somebody else.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, somebody is always going to find the loopholes.
We didn't make the busted stuff. We just figured out it was there.
Yeah, so sometimes, and we're not trying to take credit for
yeah. I mean, we
I will take a little bit of credit for Wheelbite Grievous, just a little bit, Mike.
Just a little bit. Just tease you a bit. I think you are responsible for perhaps some proliferation at a bare minimum.
Yeah. And then it turned out that he only made the top 8 at Worlds, so go figure.
Must be fair and balanced.
Mike Berry says. Okay, so we've gotten through yet another episode, and we still haven't talked about the Saboteur thing. Do you want to take a couple minutes to talk about that? Or do you want to... Oh, wait. Also, Mike, I literally just remembered that we still haven't done our Shadow Collective tier list. Remember that?
I mean, I'm going to ask a really upfront question here.
Is anybody playing Shadow Collective? No.
Does Shadow Collective even exist anymore? Like I understand that on paper they are an army. But isn't Clan Saxon just like what all the Shadow Collective players wanted to be doing anyways?
Yes, I actually do think that is literally true, and it's funny that they literally did just get at least a couple more options, right? Like with the Mando releases, not a ton, not as many new options as I actually thought that they would be getting, but they got a couple new options, and then Maul got cheaper.
I do think that it is a little bit of a miss that there's you can't take Rook as a character in Shadow Collective with this update. That's crazy. That feels like I understand, but it feels like it would not have been that much of a toss to just like throw a Rook unit card in with the Shadow Collective affiliation.
I mean, to be fair, a Rook unit card as she is in Shadowlord, which is a great show, by the way.
Oh, it's better than great. I think it might be the best animated one they've done so far.
It like pound for pound, it is only 10 episodes, and so it obviously can't compare to the scale of something like Clone Wars, but pound for pound, I think that like the average goodness per episode of Shadowlord actually is the best of any animated stuff they've done so far.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a Mike thing. I don't think it's particularly close because, especially when you think about Clone Wars and Rebels, oh boy, there are some stinkers in those TV series.
I think that one lightsaber fight towards the end might actually be in like the top 3 lightsaber fights in the franchise.
The one that takes, we'll stay mostly spoiler free, but the one that takes place across a big battlefield is the one that you're talking about.
A big battlefield.
The climactic one where it's sort of like the last chance to get off the planet, right? Or you're thinking of the one?
No, I think
you're thinking of the one that involves a pit that is in the middle.
I'm thinking of one where there are more than 2 or 3 combatants.
Yes,
in the same time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That like action shot where they like all like pause for like a second. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was really solid, and I liked that. I liked that it was one of the rarer cartoons where it felt like characters, because most of the characters aside from Maul, and maybe another one that I won't spoil, that most of the characters feel like they're sort of small potatoes enough in the grander canon that it felt like they were at risk.
Oh, absolutely.
Even like literally the main character of the show, the main good guy character, I should say, is in that category because he's a brand new character who's a detective.
Yeah.
Very well voice acted, by the way. Like all the voice acting was really good. And so all that is a very long way of saying that Rook cast would have to be very different from what the Mandalorian version of Rook cast is, because that Rook cast is like focused on sort of like Mando stuff.
Yeah.
And isn't later like so, but that show will probably create a couple new operatives that could go into Shadow Collective is my guess.
Yeah, and I'm sure
as time goes on,
Jedi Master Daki will have free action guidance and it'll be fine.
He's great because like he was voice acted by Dennis Haysbert, which for most people you would probably know him as the president from 24.
Okay.
But he's kind of like he's kind of like Keith David, where I just like really like think that they have a cool sounding voice, and that I'm just like it's very, very deep, and it was an interesting choice for this like kind of, he's basically like a dinosaur Jedi, which is a cool thing.
I mean, give me this guy all day long, commanding Republic army. He obviously fought in the Clone Wars at some point, right?
Yeah, he must. Yeah,
like he's an old dude in Shadowlord, so like he's got to be, I don't know.
I will like he would be cool, but honestly, I'm hoping that the next release is going to be Pong Krell, because I just think that there's a lot of potential for silliness there. Yeah, maybe I feel like he's the guy who would have like the Mando attack dice situation, the situation that Mace Windu should have but doesn't, without hurting himself first.
Now that's how they're going to give clones free actions. They're going to make it so that you get to take free. Everybody has new ways to motivate them. Or
they could just literally give him Ruthless, right? And then
that's fair. Doesn't Ruthless only work on core units though?
It only works on core, yeah.
I want the opportunity to kill off my 40-point models.
I want to be able to kill off my commando, my commando mini that I literally paid 25 points for in order to get a free move out of it. Oh God. And also we went on a really big tangent on Shadow Collective stuff, which means that we didn't talk about saboteurs. Let's talk about that next week, Mike.
Okay.
So, this was a podcast where we talked about a lot of things, which means I'm going to have a lot of timestamps. So that's fun for me, but I do think we should land the plane.
I'm all for landing the plane. Can you make sure that this week there's not a bunch of music over the top of the last 10 minutes?
Oh yeah. That was my bad. That was an editing fail on my part.
I loved how everybody was like, "Yo, I think they did that intentionally."
I think Evan's censoring Mike. That was just me being a bad producer. I apologize for that. Will not happen this week.
We'll see. Depending on whether or not you hear this right now, this may or may not.
Ouch.
All good.
Okay, now after you've lampooned my ability to actually properly edit a podcast about Star Wars Legion, let's land the plane, please, before I embarrass myself further.
This has been Notorious Scoundrels, Season 4, Episode 64. I'm Mike.
I'm Evan.
Stay fresh, cheese bags. Look at that.
I did it again.